Is unlimited proudly presents.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 15 of the Diz Unlimited podcast. I am your host today, Craig Williams, leading us in this very fun conversation about the future of Walt Disney World. And today I am joined alongside by my great friends, including Rhino.
Hello.
And Hannah Anderson, Dreams Unlimited travel agent.
Nothing.
No hello from Hannah?
No hello.
You just want to learn.
Oh, sorry. I froze.
Oh.
Hi, friends.
I was like,
she did like a little, like a, I was
Yeah.
like, okay.
The chuckle threw me off. I'm like, huh. It's like, no hype. That's fine. Hey, everyone.
Keeping you guys guessing.
Perfect. Hey, let's keep it up for the rest of the show here. Well, hello, everyone. I hope everyone is having a great week so far. We have a very fun episode coming up for you. We're not going to do basically the traditional news format that we've done for however long, for years and years and years. Instead, we're going to go a little bit more open-ended in terms of what we speak about today, just because, well, A, the news isn't that great, and B, I feel like there's a greater conversation about Walt Disney World's future that eventually we need to have, so why not choose just a random day in January to do it, right before, Country Bear Jamboree closes down as Tiana's Bayou adventure starts looking more and more complete. Let's start talking about what's happening with Walt Disney World. But before we do that, I want to remind you this is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel. If you like our content, you want to support us, book a vacation through Dreams Unlimited Travel. It costs you no extra money, and you get the support of one of the incredible Dreams Unlimited travel agents. So head over to dreamsunlimitedtravel.com today for a free, no obligation quote. And then I also want to mention that this show and everything that we do on the Diz Unlimited channel is brought to you by our Patreon supporters. We truly could not make the amount of content that we do and the variety of content that we do without the help of our Patreon supporters, and that of course includes benefits like behind the scenes videos, photos, stories, the Patreon post show, and it just keeps going from there. So if you want more information on how to support us via Patreon, head over to patreon.com/DizUnlimited. Okay, now that we've gotten through all that little bit of housekeeping up front, how's everyone doing this week? You ready to deal with some warmer temperatures in Florida after having a nice little cold spell there the past couple days?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, short answer is no. Doing great, but no.
That's okay. It's ultimately we're going to make the best of it. So we have a busy couple of days coming up where our little trio is going to be spending at least one day in Magic Kingdom. We have a Tony's Town Square review planned right now for tomorrow, and I believe while we're there, maybe we'll also pay tribute to the Bears because they won't be around much longer, and I don't think I'm going to get Rhino into Magic Kingdom one more day this week to say goodbye to the Bears later, so better happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I love Country Bears, but I am not one of those people that needs to be there on the last day of an attraction. The same way I don't really need to be one of those people who has to be there on the first day of an attraction. I mean, it's my job, but it's just chaos. I don't want to be a part of that.
It's your job to be there before the attraction opens on that first day. And then also again on that first day. So I'm going to start getting a little stricter with you on that, but it's okay. We have time. I'm not going to force you. You've gotten that Frozen Ever After under your belt forever, but eventually you got to let something, take over that one. But I'm not going to force you to go to Country Bear Jamboree with me on the final day. I'm gonna take on that quest by myself, hopefully, just to be able to enjoy it and take it all in. I was able to check out one of the shows today, and I was I mean, I was blown away by how many people were there. First off, they were doing shows before it even opened for cast members. So I thought that was a really incredible thing, that they're trying to make sure that there's an opportunity for cast members to be able to see the show without having to, come after work or on their days off or whatever. And then they opened that theater and let everyone in, and I was like, surely they're going to close it eventually. And they've basically filled the entire theater, and it was super packed. People were having a great time with it. I can only imagine how much worse it's going to get over the next couple of days, leading up to the big closure on January 26th. Well, after Park Out Parade and Hours on 26th, officially closed on the 27th. So, yeah, it's a real doozy. And I was even going to circle back around to get in one more show, do that trick that I love doing. And there was no standing room inside the waiting room area. This is going to be an insane couple of days here. But, it's bears. Why wouldn't there be? But we're not just here to talk about bears. The bears. I want to make that.
I would be okay with it.
Just talking a 1 hour tribute to the Country Bear Jamboree.
Right, but we only have 15 minutes, so
that is true. I mean, if we really wanted to dedicate some time, we'll go into the history of the movie and go through the entire movie and how the movie was better than the attraction ever was. But I don't want to upset people too much there. But that was weird. Anywho, the jumping off point for this conversation that I believe we are going to have today is surrounding Tiana's Bayou adventure. And work on Tiana's Bayou adventure, I'm just going to call it Tiana's, I think, for the rest. I can't continue just saying all 3 words of the name. It's just too much. It's way too much for me. But
TBA.
Work TBA. Okay, there we go. It's for the rest of the show with TBA. So work is progressing rapidly on TBA, and I am more and more blown away every time we see it in person. I believe we talked about it a little bit on last week's show. Just the amount of foliage that they've added to the hill, the salt dome, whatever we're going to call it, is ridiculously impressive. One of the things I will say, though, that is still very jarring to me is that on both sides of the attraction, you still have that very familiar Splash Mountain clay-like color on both sides, right, kind of ruining the entire look of it a little bit more. But there's still a lot of time to go. I'm sure they're going to add more foliage and really fill that in and take away a lot more of that. But TBA is churning along, and we know it's going to open at some point this year. Still don't have an exact date on it. Country Bear Jamboree, the new version of that show, is going to open up at some point this year. And as part of the press release for Country Bear Jamboree, when they announced that, of course, at the bottom there was the little bit that said, "Stay tuned for more details about what is happening with Frontierland." And so I kind of want to use that as the leaping off point for all of this. These projects are going to get wrapped up, and we know what technically is in store for Disney parks in the future, Walt Disney World parks. But where do we think it's actually going to go from here? Where do we want to see it go? And we know, obviously something could happen beyond Big Thunder Mountain. We know that there's plans in place for Disney's Animal Kingdom and the Dino Land USA area. But besides those, what do we really want to see? Even with Beyond Big Thunder, what do we want to see with that? So I am just going to jump right in and say I am on the fence about Frontierland in general. I don't know how you two feel about it, but as I was taking some time there today to stand around and look at it all, I know right now the big rumor is with Frontierland that Pecos Bill will eventually be closing because that will then be more closely integrated with Tiana's Bayou Adventure. And I do think that needs to happen. But Frontierland in general, like as I was looking at it, really, it starts right where the restrooms are and kind of that alcove. Like it really branches off from Liberty Square. You have the restrooms, then you have the Frontierland shooting gallery, and then that kind of morphs into the trading post and Country Bear Jamboree. And then as you just keep going, you get to Pecos Bill, eventually with Splash Mountain and Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. But is it necessary at all to have a Frontierland anymore, or is it still going to be necessary because in general with Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, would it make sense to just plop that there? But also with Tiana's Bayou Adventure, I'm not sure. We've had this discussion since the first day it's been announced. How does it fit into Frontierland? Is Frontierland too broad of a term, or is it just all Disney and it's all made up and we shouldn't really be losing sleep over any of this? Hannah, any thoughts on that?
Well, I just want to say that's not what we do here at the Diz. We do lose sleep over these things, but I will say it would be shocking to lose lose an actual land at Disney World, especially since there is a Frontierland in Disneyland. It just seems so much part of that history. But I'm with you. It's confusing to think about. Obviously, we don't want to lose Big Thunder Mountain. I don't think we're going to, but to have Big Thunder Mountain, TBA, whatever's going to happen with Pecos Bill, Country Bears. So you're kind of flanked by Country Bears and Big Thunder Mountain. I don't know how you make the stuff, aka Tiana's and Pecos Bill, in between make sense. And then really, I don't know how much space they have to work with the shooting range and that gift shop that's there, because they're pretty narrow. So I don't know if they have the room to expand on the other side. I am always shocked. Like I kind of forget that the shooting range is there, and Disneyland has one as well. People seem to use it, but it seems like a waste of space and also something that's kind of not really relevant with the times anymore, I guess is a nice way to put it. So I am frankly not sure how you blend Liberty Tree, then whatever's in between, then Country Bears, then Tiana, then Big Thunder. I know that's not very helpful because I'm sure we're all scratching our heads, but I do think, as Craig said, that putting more of a Tiana tie is important. I would be very sad if we just got the attraction and a gift shop. I would really like to see some of that great food, and I think Pecos Bill is way overdue for an update. I will also say Pecos Bill, on the other hand, is a large space. So in comparison to the shooting range and the gift shop, that would give you a lot of space to do either a different restaurant or maybe even another smaller attraction. And I don't necessarily, though, want Pecos Bill to turn into a table service, just because I think Magic Kingdom, with the volume, needs that quick service space. I think that's important. But I even love, out at Disneyland, what is it, Rancho del Zocalo? It's Mexican food. I think that's okay, or more than okay. I like it. So even something like that would be a welcome addition. But I think at this point, if you're going to do those changes, it needs to be more theming, more Tiana. But honestly, I have no idea how they're going to tie that in. And I'm assuming they're going to do something with Tom Sawyer's Island. So honestly, I'm not sure. I'm looking forward to it. And as sad as I am about Country Bears closing, I'm just very excited that they are keeping a version of it and investing in a classic attraction. I think sometimes with Walt Disney World, I get frustrated because we have all the space, unlike Disneyland, and we're constantly just replacing or getting rid of things we have. And you're like, man, could you just freshen it up or give us an addition without taking away? So I'm hopeful, but man, I tell you what, it's a good thing I'm not an Imagineer because I don't have a clue what to do with that space.
Yeah. The one thing that I was thinking about while I was standing there, it might be a little bit of a cop-out to do this, but you have Tiana's Bayou Adventure there, and Pecos Bill yeah, like everyone says, it makes the most sense to just turn that into a New Orleans style Tiana restaurant. And then you have this little New Orleans type land that's plopped right in that area. Technically that could still be Frontierland, as I saw someone point out in chat. And it works from, if you think about it as Liberty Square being the colonies and how those progressed, everything beyond the colonies could technically fit into Frontierland, starting with the Louisiana Purchase, Kentucky, everything over that direction. So it can still technically work, but if they wanted to put a moniker on it without even calling it like New Orleans Square or something, heck, even take a page out of their old playbook and go New Frontierland in that way and have that be that little section. And then Old Frontierland could even just be, stop right at Country Bear Jamboree, and then technically make Frontierland that, Tom Sawyer Island, and Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, and that's kind of connected there. Because honestly, with Country Bear Jamboree, I know Grizzly Hall is there now, and maybe it will remain Grizzly Hall, but for some reason, based on how they're describing the new show, having like all those different styles of country being involved, and it just feels like it's going to have a little bit of a classier look, not that like down in the frontier style look to it. It's going to be something a little bit more polished. I almost feel like they should just lean into that and make the new Grizzly Hall Country Bear Jamboree more like a Grand Ole Opry setting. And so you have like that Nashville, and then go south into New Orleans, and then you're kind of going out west from there. And it still kind of makes sense in a way, but ultimately, I don't know. The name Frontierland, though, just the more I think about it, yes, it describes what our country was like for a while, but something about it, like maybe it's just that I'm saying it too much over and over in my head, and I've lost all meaning of the word, as that happens from time to time. But something, I don't know, something's just
What
off
year
for
did
me.
What year did Big Thunder Mountain open? It's not an opening day attraction, right?
No, in
Like the
1980, I believe.
And then Splash Mountain was, what year was that?
Splash Mountain was 92 in this park and 89 at Disneyland.
Okay, and so Tom Sawyer's Island was opening day, though, right?
Tom Sawyer Island was opening day, yes. Please don't test me on any more knowledge. And
No.
I could be wrong
Sorry,
about that.
because so my point I'm trying to make is like put myself back in 1971, and you come in this park and we have Frontierland, and let's chop off those parts. So Big Thunder and Splash Mountain is that Frontierland is very much built on, you got to think in 1971, it was people that were born in at least probably the 40s, if not earlier than that, are the ones who are designing this land. So for them, their growing up is still like, excuse the terms here, cowboys and Indians and that sort of a thing. And, like the very cliche, stereotypical, generic American depiction of those, like on black and white television, Bonanza and Gunsmoke and stuff like that, and Lone Ranger and things. And so I'm,
Zorro.
when that opened, I'm sure there was a lot more where it was like, wow, cool. I think about it in terms of like Universal Studios. Hollywood still kind of has that Western part of their backlot, that's like more for the ride than anything else, more for their studio tram tour. So it is definitely a dated part of Americana. So I think sometimes people confuse history with theme park entertainment. Like if they were to get rid of Frontierland, it's not them trying to erase history. It's them trying to keep this part of the park like relevant to modern day interests, and what the interests of the future may be. And I think we very much kind of have collectively as a society kind of moved past that, like the shooting gallery and things like that. That is definitely still part of that, like old, like kids growing up like cowboys and stuff like that. And so I'm, as much as I think like people love it and that sort of thing, I do think it's a very old fashioned sort of look. And I'm not saying there's necessarily anything wrong with it. Knott's Berry Farm has their whole ghost town area and stuff. And, but as we were talking about it, I didn't really think about Country Bear in that mix, where I was like, okay, well, if they do Beyond Thunder Mountain, then aesthetically not aesthetically. Yes, aesthetically, but I'm going to use the word aesthetic twice in a row. Aesthetically, that aesthetic can continue on starting at Big Thunder Mountain and move past it. So like, I don't know if it's about like getting rid of it or if it's just about relocating it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what they have planned for back there. I know that they said like, we've been dreaming about Encanto. We've been dreaming about these things. Yeah, whatever. Just tell us, just don't do that anymore. Just tell us what you're actually going to do, you know?
Well, I think
I don't know.
I think it's more complicated than that, and I'm sure that's part of what we're going to get into with this conversation. That's obviously part of the point of it. So the one thing that like also plays into this is like our Frontierland, while it came together very nicely, is also kind of an afterthought because, you know, if you go back to the opening day of Magic Kingdom and the plans to come with it, well, it was never originally supposed to necessarily be Frontierland. Pirates of the Caribbean is what screwed it up because all the guests came that knew Pirates of the Caribbean from Disneyland or heard about it, come to Magic Kingdom and said, "Where's Pirates of the Caribbean?" Not there. So then they have to build Pirates of the Caribbean. That threw off the plans for the Western River Expedition, that entire area that then eventually kind of morphed into Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. And then, you know, we get Splash Mountain, even though that wasn't part of it, but there was a water aspect part of the Western River Expedition as well, too. So like that was supposed to be the flagship part of Frontierland that just completely went away because of Pirates of the Caribbean. And, you know, on top of that, to add insult to injury, then we get a terrible version of Pirates of the Caribbean compared to Disneyland. And now looking back at it, you're like, yeah, wish that never would have happened. But I digress on that. So, like, I also don't sorry. I was just going to say, I don't have necessarily the same attachment to Frontierland because Frontierland, even though it was part of Magic Kingdom and I'm happy it extended the way it was never the Frontierland that it was necessarily supposed to be at Magic Kingdom. And it kind of feels like this afterthought, in my opinion, of, hey, you know, Disneyland has it, and so we extended it to Walt Disney World too, but it was never quite the same.
I think there's a lot of things at, like, the more we're talking about it, the more, you know, like, it's hard because we're speaking off the cuff and I'm sure people are going to get upset with whatever we say, but I thinking about it is like, okay, in its purest form, right? The idea or the development of Magic Kingdom, you know, you've got your frozen in time part of like Main Street USA. And then, like, for me, the Tomorrowland is supposed to be that sort of frozen in time, like 50s, like that very positive, what's that type of architecture where it's like all the bubble chairs and the 60s,
like mid-century modern.
Yeah, so it's supposed to be like that sort of frozen idyllic sort of a time. And then we have, Liberty Square, and what did they say? That was supposed to be like the 1800s or something, or I don't know. Our server at that restaurant told us like about the progression of time through there, which was interesting. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's some interesting storytelling. And then Frontierland, I guess, would also be that like frozen in time, like, Manifest Destiny, westward, moving out there. But I don't know that any of those lands are really delivering on any of that anymore, with the exception of like maybe Main Street USA. But, and so it's kind of one of those things where, if they start chipping away at this land like this, and there isn't cohesion back there, is this the beginning of the lack of cohesion in the park that'll eventually, 50 more years down the road, be like, it's just a park with a bunch of things in it, like Hollywood Studios, I would argue is,
I was going to bring up Hollywood Studios in that because Rhino and I had a conversation via Tap House Talks about what was missing in Hollywood Studios. And I think probably the number one comment that we were getting from that was the issue with Hollywood Studios right now. What it's missing is a lack of cohesion. And I mean, we talked about it to an extent, but not as much as apparently other people see it with that park. And I don't think Magic Kingdom is necessarily struggling with that. I think there certainly are areas, because obviously there is a lack of cohesion with Tomorrowland. That's like the Tomorrowland curse. Fantasyland, I think, is successful at it. Main Street USA is. I'll argue that Adventureland isn't cohesive to me either. Like, not. No offense to that in that way, but I've never really enjoyed it, with random, Aladdin in the middle, right in the tropical area, and then the Caribbean Plaza further down. Like, that never really was. That never really was something that I felt was cohesive. Frontierland, I still feel like there could be some cohesion in it. What I will say is, so far as people have been chatting about it, bringing it up, I think Steve Porter's actually had the best idea. And it's definitely controversial. I wish he was actually in on this right now to bring it up himself. But Steve said, drain the rivers of America finally, and just pave it all out, and then you can connect Frontierland that way and make mini New Orleans Square on that little side. And you know what? It's a bold idea. It gets rid of the riverboat, but could we live in a world where we don't have a waterway in Magic Kingdom? No,
I don't think so. I mean, I don't not agree with what he's saying, and that would solve the problem of Tom Sawyer Island, right? Which I do feel like it has become, not just at this park, but I would argue at Disneyland as well, has become useless. I don't want to say useless. Like, it still is a place to go, but there's not really reason to go there. I don't know. You know what I mean? It feels like. I grew up in Carver, Massachusetts, which is the town next to Plymouth, and I believe Plymouth at one point was named one of the most disappointing travel destinations in the United States, because people go to see Plymouth Rock, and you get there and you're like, oh, it's like this big, like, it's not that big. And so I feel like Tom Sawyer Island sort of has that same thing where you're like, okay, here we go, we're getting on the raft, we're getting over here, and what, and so it's just one of those where, I don't know, like, do something over there. But I just can't. I feel like one of the, in my brain, in your mind, you think about the people who are coming, from like these landlocked areas that don't have bodies of water around them, or didn't grow up, on the water, or the West Coast or the East Coast or whatever, are seeing this. I just can't. I still think there's something about when you walk through that area and you see that riverboat, and it is a boat you can ride and you go around like that. That is something that is still like a feat that is cool. Like, that is, whether you say it's not exciting, whether you're honored or not, it is still one of those things that is so unique, such a unique experience to these theme parks, that I would hate to see it go away. Like, it is one of those where, like, if you could move it or whatever, but it's kind of being like, well, we could also demolish the castle and put something there. You know what I mean? It feels like
those are strong words.
So I feel like it's the same way. I feel like you have that idea where you could never change what Main Street USA is, because that is, as much as I'm like, it's a company and it moves forward and things like that, it feels like that is where the
heart and soul,
where the seed of like Walt's thought, the genesis of the entire thing begins there, and I feel like the boat is another one of those, like, it's the castle, it's the boat, and and everything else I would argue, get rid of it. You could get rid of. And I think, I know people are like, well, Haunted Mansion or whatever, these things, but I'm like, I just don't think. Also, why are they doing this when they could be doing something in Tomorrowland? I mean, I know we have Tron now, but like, I feel like, get rid of the Indy Speedway. Jeez, that is just a giant plot of land. Like continue what you started with New Fantasyland over there, maybe, instead of these like Beyond Thunder Mountain things and stuff like that. Thunder Mountain, that area has stuff in it, very popular attractions. Tiana's will be a popular attraction, whether you're sad it's not Splash Mountain anymore or not. It is still a very exciting attraction, and Thunder Mountain is a very exciting attraction. So there's like two marquee attractions back there. So it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, now we're going to get lopsided, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, Tomorrowland, we can always sit here and complain about Tomorrowland Speedway and the nonsense of that. I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon with that. But Magic Kingdom, for beyond Big Thunder Mountain, I feel like when they're talking about that, like they have to go beyond the berm. That's the only
Thunder Mountain.
to go beyond Big Thunder Mountain. I mean, if you think about it, it's right at the edge of the railroad as it's going around. So you have to go beyond the berm. And if you've ever looked at like a Google Map image, there's obviously a lot of room there. For people watching this, you can get the kind of idea. This is looking out the left side of the train as you're going around. I mean, yes, they use backstage areas for a lot of reasons, bear storage when they want to have a bear eventually come into the park and play around. But they have, not those kind of bears, buddy. They have quite a bit of room to work with on the other side of the train berm. In that way, before they really get to where like the road actually does make it impossible for them to continue on building. And right now, a lot of this area it is technically being used it's being used in the sense that, there's parts of it that the train of the railroad that get used on that side. Like you have what kind of feels like outdated compared to some of the changes that they've been making. You have the Native Americans sitting around. You have this random horse watching this man try to, drown himself in
and that goat
in water. And
that's not a goat. That's a coyote.
I believe that's some sort of coyote dog. So there's a little bit of props there, but beyond that, it's really just room. So they're talking about going beyond the berm with that, but in general, we lost Hannah, so I wish we could have her input on this right now. Yeah, she couldn't stand for this, so it's going to be a lot of the gentlemen right now until we can figure out how to get Hannah back in here. But overall with it, like I don't know where they're going with Magic Kingdom. I don't know if they're going to go the Encanto route, which to me also doesn't make sense because like I don't know. I guess technically with Big Thunder Mountain, it's not too far of a leap to also say, Southeast United States, and that goes into Central America and South America. So it's not too far off to keep everything feeling cohesive and thematic. But I don't know now that it's been brought up with Tom Sawyer Island, it's a lot of wasted space. And
the Magical House would be perfect in New Fantasyland as part of the Indy Speedway. Dump that stuff, build a house right there, and we're good to go. And it fits in great. Like
honestly, that's not a terrible idea either. It could definitely have a home in New Fantasyland, and then that wouldn't ruin the berm aspect of it. But I don't know. I mean, they have to expand, because another reality of all of this is that Walt Disney World is not going to add an extra theme park. I don't think so. Yeah. I love everything about Universal, and I will always be a fan of Universal the same way I am of Disney. That will never change. But Universal, in my opinion, is putting themselves in a very, very tough position with Epic Universe, because they will gladly find people who want to work at Epic Universe. They'll find people that are excited, that already working at Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios, that want to go and work at Epic Universe. I think the problem is they are adding a theme park that's going to need to be fully staffed in a world where there are still, I don't think there's enough of a workforce right now in Central Florida to fill those theme parks. And I think Disney's in the same boat. So that's why they're not counteracting Epic Universe with another theme park. Yes, there's enough stuff wrong with their parks right now that they need to fix those and address those before moving on to something like a new theme park. But overall, you got to find people to work these parks too. It just can't sit there and exist and say, here you go, enjoy it. What don't you know?
And it feels like all the construction and everything that's been going around here, and all you see everywhere, these apartment buildings getting built left and right and everything like that, that the population boom that's happened here in the last 4 years, I think it's just like pay people better and more people want to work there. Maybe like, I also think it's like one of those jobs where you're kind of like, I don't know. Sometimes it can be great, and sometimes it's the worst of humanity walking through there, and so it can be a little bit of a strain, you know.
Well,
So I'm not saying you're not true. I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's a little bit of both.
yeah, well, you're stuck in a loop then of, okay, if they want to pay people more, then they have to raise prices and they have to find these new ways to draw people in to want to work. But it's going to then just in turn make everything else more expensive. Apartments in the area will definitely find a way to charge more for rent if you then have people making more money. I mean, it's the current problem with Central Florida, and I'm sure a lot of places around the world where, it's just everything has gotten out of control. So I don't think that's an immediate way to solve everything, and we'll wait and see once Universal opens Epic Universe to see how that's handled. They're going to throw everything into that park, and then we're going to have to see how it impacts Universal Studios as well as Islands of Adventure. And if you start to see, kind of a downturn there because everyone's focused on the bright, shiny new object in the room, I could definitely see that happening, and I think Disney would have that exact same problem if they tried to open up anything bigger. So they have to start better utilizing the space in the current parks they have. They have to detach themselves from the history at certain points, the same way Walt would tell them to do. These aren't museums. Keep moving forward in that way. Keep innovating. Keep coming up with new ideas, and leave some stuff behind. Yes, it sucks that we lost Back to the Future and King Kong back in the day and Jaws for all these updates at Universal, but it paid off and put them in a position that now they can be where they are, opening up a brand new park. And I think Disney's kind of got to get bold with those decisions too. It's going to piss off a lot of people, especially the ones who are very nostalgic and want the parks to remain the same way that they were when they were coming, and they want it to be the same way when they bring their grandkids one day. But I mean, eventually you just got to rip the Band-Aid off and say, let's do something crazy. And I think they might need to do that with Magic Kingdom, but that park's not the only problem. So we still, in all this, I don't want to go on too long about Magic Kingdom here because we still haven't talked about Beyond Big Thunder really in terms of what we would want to see. Hannah, we lost you at that point, but Rhino said Beyond Big Thunder, who needs it? Drop the Encanto house over the Tomorrowland Speedway. Not a terrible idea, but what do you want to see Beyond Big Thunder? And do you want the Encanto house to be dropped on Tomorrowland Speedway?
I think you could go either way with. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Am I back for real this time? I'm sorry, guys.
You are.
I know everybody's excited for the new studio, but no, I would be absolutely fine with that because you could tie it into Fantasyland. I also think Frontierland, maybe that's the direction they're going in, where I want to say New Frontier, but I guess that's more of going to space, but almost like new adventures is kind of what they're going for. I do think I would be fine with Encanto going there. I also think with Disneyland adding Galaxy's Edge effectively to Frontierland, I've learned to kind of not doubt Disney that way, because I remember when they first announced it thinking, okay, that's kind of strange. And it is tucked away back there. But Frontierland now, even at Disneyland, it's a very small section of a pretty small park. So I think it's possible. I think we should keep, obviously, Big Thunder Mountain. I don't want anything to happen to that. But I don't think there's a problem with putting something like Encanto in that area in the section or in the middle. And also kind of, to Steve's point, I guess if you're going to do that, like, why not pave over it or do something like that? Because I feel like that's what Disney's going to do. Like, I really think that they're going to put Encanto or something like that out there on Tom Sawyer's Island. And then, maybe they're able to tie in the theming to some degree. But I really think that's the direction they're going. And when you drive, so you can actually drive past the Grand Floridian Resort and see kind of back behind there, even as a guest, as a lot of locals. That's how they cut through to get to Winter Garden. And there is space back there. So I think, expanding the park is a great idea too. But I would say no one's going to miss Tomorrowland Speedway, except, Disneyland still has Autopia. And that's, again, small park, takes up a lot of real estate. So I really think they're going to do something with Tom Sawyer's Island. And to your point, Craig, I am a Disney purist. I am always that one who is sad about changes to Disney, but usually, like I would say 9 times out of 10, I'm happy with it. And I think is a Disney World local, an annual pass holder, at some point it is that realization that we are not Disneyland. We are not a locals park. Disney World markets to the guest that comes every 5 years. And as much as I don't like that, that's how it's been. And I think they've got the data to back it up. So Encanto is going to bring people to Disney. I'm not sure I can't believe I'm even saying this because I love Country Bears. I don't think a new version of Country Bears is going to make anybody, book a Disney World package for next year. So I think making big moves like that, just like you said, and like Universal is doing, they really don't have a choice at this point. So yeah, I say put Encanto and at Tom Sawyer's Island. Just go ahead and do it.
And one thing I do want to point out too is that Beyond Big Thunder was only mentioned the first at D23 Expo, right? And then Destination D, they didn't give an update to it. They did give an update to Animal Kingdom at Destination D23, and that's when they had Encanto kind of mixed in there too. But I honestly think that there is nothing set in stone. I don't even think with Animal Kingdom that there's a guarantee on Indiana Jones, as much as people are screaming about it. Like, well, it makes the most sense. And we know for a fact from Imagineers, literally, we've lived through this with Disney now, that until something is official and it's being built, I'm not going to believe anything, because if we're in that game of believe everything that we hear from a person or that's even announced, then we'd have Hyperion Wharf instead of Disney Springs or whatever that was supposed to be called years and years and years ago. So but I'm that type of pessimist when it comes to Disney, that I can only believe so much. I mean, I trust that they have the best intentions and that, the projects that they're passionate about and they want to build, that they're going to go forward with it. But it's very easy to sit around and say, we want to do this and these are the ideas, than actually to create them and start making them a part of everything. But another thing that I think they're going to run into, though, with Beyond Big Thunder, and I'm sure it's part of the plans eventually if they go back there. Hannah, we talked about it earlier. You talked about quick service with Pecos Bill being replaced. That needs to stay quick service, but they're going to need to add a lot more dining to Magic Kingdom. And I don't have plans for that, but I think dining is one thing that that needs to be addressed in both Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios, because it's just not it. And why are they still messing around with the nonsense of the Diamond Horseshoe, just serving the same stuff at Liberty Tree Tavern? Like,
oh, so sad.
Invest into that space. But dining needs to be looked at in Magic Kingdom in particular. I think that's a very, very weak spot.
I agree. And I do feel like the trend is kind of going towards maybe with Disney World, and I feel like in Disney in general, is that things are geared more towards high-end experiences. And so I feel like with Disney World especially, we've gotten some very exciting or new table service restaurants. Really, other than Satuli Canteen, I don't think we've really had an innovative quick service restaurant that has a lot of theming and is a large space, more than, oh, here's a pop-up, come grab a fun ice cream cone. So, and I think especially for those guests that come, let's say, every couple of years, like I was talking about, it's important to be able to give options to people that don't make reservations 60 days out or don't have a couple $100 to spend on a table service location. And there's no way around that. And I will also say now, I love table service restaurants. I used to spend way too much money on them when we first moved down here because I wanted to eat at one every single weekend. Now with a toddler, we can't even do it. It is very hard for us to even enjoy a table service restaurant. And I'm sure there's a lot of families in that same boat where we don't have 3 hours to sit down and enjoy a meal as much as we want to. And then also, one thing we run into all the time is that the weather here in Florida is A, unpredictable, and B, it's usually very hot. And so having more indoor locations like Pecos Bill is actually a positive thing. Just give us some better food, please. So Disneyland has, I would say Disneyland doesn't really have table services figured out, but they definitely have, maybe I shouldn't have thrown that shade, but they do definitely have quick services figured out. And I wish Disney World and Disneyland could talk together, but they don't because they're two different things is how they feel. So
Yeah, thoughts, Rhino?
No, I completely agree with what Hannah said about the more options for people that don't plan 60 days out. That would be nice again, for people that, that they know they're going to go, but they can't lock in that date until it gets closer. I feel like they're always penalized on experiences like that. And it would be nice to kind of have a return to a little bit more of, sporadic, dining. So.
Yep. No, I, you know what? Ultimately, I don't care how they get the food in our mouths, just as long as they find the quickest, simplest way possible. So I'm not gonna complain about it at all. But yeah, food is lacking, and I don't know though. I think about like Disneyland with their quick service, and I don't know. After the last time that Rhino and I were out there, I'm also like, I'm not sure if Disneyland's quick service is even holding up strong for me. There was, but I'm not. I don't want to get us down the road on this debate. Disneyland still has great quick service options. I almost also think that Disneyland shines with more of their cafeteria style settings, like a Plaza Inn, and even now how they handle Tiana's, where you walk in and it doesn't feel necessarily as quick service with windows, but it feels like a cafeteria in that way of choose what you want. They'll slop it on a plate real quick right in front of you. I don't know. Maybe Walt Disney World might need more of that kind of, following the same vibe that they have at some of the resorts, but yeah, food is a big one. So another bold question I want to ask in all of this. In the past couple weeks, there's been more rumors about Universal and the future of Universal. Orlando Park Stop Alicia always working to make sure our minds are blown about what's happening next with Universal, and dropping the bombs that potentially the Simpsons will have not a lot of years left at Universal.
I would be surprised.
You'd be surprised if they.
I mean, go through it. Sorry, go through it.
So, I mean, essentially, the rumor goes that The Simpsons is about to reach its contract expiration, because I believe that would be that opened in like 2008, 2007, somewhere in there. So it's up at the 20 years, and Universal has to decide if they want to reinvest in it. And The Simpsons is a complete different product from even 20 years ago. They now having that relationship with Nintendo. I believe Alicia said that they're looking at Pokemon with that area, which has been rumored for Universal Studios quite a bit over the years, and it makes sense with it. But if Universal drops the theme park rights for The Simpsons, should Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Parks, should they invest in The Simpsons in theme parks? I mean, obviously Hollywood Studios is the way to go, but you think they won't?
I don't think they will. I think they should. I mean, it's so much content, and it's clearly still going. I mean, probably not for many more years, I would assume, because eventually people are going to start passing away. And I don't think they'll want to do the show if Marge or Homer, if one of these actors who's playing them passes away, God forbid, incredibly talented people. But it's one of those things where it does have so much. I could see it maybe being something where they do like an experience like a Jacques Lindsay's or where they build something like a Moe's or so, well, I don't even know, because it's not their brand, right? It's not that super
Right.
family friendly all segment brand, because that's the thing. I mean, I guess The Simpsons kind of is, but it's still like, I'm trying to think like what could they lean into, because everything is very tongue in cheek on The Simpsons. So like I can't imagine them making, like, maybe they do Krusty Burger. I could see them investing in it in terms of like a food or a lounge, something like that. I don't see them making like an attraction, because it seems like lately too everything is geared toward something that is very modern and coming out. Because if they were going to invest in stuff like that, why don't we have more attractions based around like some of those early 2000s movies, late 90s movies and stuff like that? There's nothing with like Hercules. You know what I mean? There's nothing with like
Right.
Mulan, really, stuff like that. And so like I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love it. Like,
So I will at least counter that with, we at the end of the year in December, we got told that Voyage of the Little Mermaid would be replaced by another Little Mermaid show. So
Yeah.
they're not sacrificing that. I think they genuinely look at what is popular. And while we have a massive nostalgia for that Renaissance era up until the end of it, right up till that Tarzan period, I don't think that that's what's going to pull people in. The same way Hannah said, I don't think people are booking for Country Bears. You do have to have some fan service in there, but at the same time, I don't know if a new Hercules attraction is going to pull people in. Maybe like a Hercules show, but that also feels, way overdue. And let's look at it. I mean, Princess and the Frog came out in 2009, so it's taken 15 years to get Tiana an attraction. Whether Encanto comes to Magic Kingdom or Animal Kingdom, we're looking at 10 years out from when that movie came out until it's probably actually all said and done and finished. So Disney is still playing that game of just being a little bit behind.
But you're agreeing with my point. You're not countering my point. You're emphasizing my point.
Well, to an extent, but but I disagree. I think they can still pull back onto what sells. That's why Disneyland last year had a Lion King show that ran for however. That's why Tokyo makes an incredible Beauty and the Beast attraction. In terms of the Renaissance, I think they care about 4 movies from it. They care about Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, Aladdin, and Lion King. And that's it. So they're going to pick and choose from each era. And I don't know. Simpsons people are die hard. And I could see them wanting to exploit those people. Maybe it doesn't fit Disney's brand, but Disney's brand has changed. Disney's brand now includes Marvel. And that is not the same as Disney animated movies. And, you can argue the same thing about Star Wars.
They are. The rumor is they're also making another Simpsons movie. That's a priority right now for them. So I mean that could also mean relevance. Yeah, that's not to say that the Simpsons aren't relevant. They're
very relevant. They predict the future.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. But here's the thing: they also own Bob's Burgers, and so I think I'm one of those people where I'd like. I know we're talking about the Simpsons and the licensing stuff, but like, look at how many they own Family Guy too. And I know that's definitely veering even farther away, but like all those things, there's a well of that animated stuff that they've inherited. Futurama, and they've clearly invested in Futurama because, didn't they just have a season on Hulu? And so I'm not saying saying that there isn't interest in using those brands somehow. In my mind, I agree with you. I think Hollywood Studios would be a great opportunity to really invest in those animated worlds somehow, and I for one would definitely go there and be there, but I don't know. It just seems like, I don't know. I mean, I guess they did Star Wars and they did invest in Avatar, because I was like, it just seems like lately everything is skewing so much younger. And I mean, for like little kids, and I'm not saying that that's wrong, because they've done things like Avatar and Star Wars, which are definitely family oriented, but Tron, those things like skew into the teenagers and older, I feel like, and so I And I feel like the things I just named are definitely skewing in a lot older ages, right? Like that's adult, that's like older teenagers to adults and stuff. And I for one would love to see that happen. I just don't, I don't know also, because then what if they do, have they ever, I mean, we're in a new day and age, because have they ever done something where it's like, well, we're building that. I guess they built a Spider-Man ride. I was going to say, have they built anything that existed at Universal and then we're like, well, we'll do it. Their Spider-Man ride was not better than the Universal Spider-Man ride.
No.
So I don't, I was about to say, I can't imagine them rebuilding something that was once at Universal, in terms of, I know it wouldn't be the same attraction,
Right.
but you know what I'm saying? Like that sort of thing, we're like, got it
Like
now. And it's
sloppy
ours.
seconds.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Universal did a good job of building the world of The Simpsons, but the main attraction of it is an awful ride.
It makes me very sick.
When the spinning ride that sits out front of the main attraction is more fun and entertaining, that's when you know it has a problem. So Universal did a great job of bringing it to life, but the ride leaves a lot to be desired.
Well, and remember, the ride was just the ride for a long time.
Yeah.
That Simpsons area only expanded, like, I mean, that ride was definitely there for at least like 5 years before I think they built Springfield. I mean, I could be way wrong, but
Springfield was like 2013, 2014, right in there. So.
Yeah, because I was going to say that building out of it is really what makes that land. It's not the attraction. Because the attraction, if you're not familiar, it just took over the Back to the Future attraction that was there before. So it was like a retrofitted ride. So even then, the investment they originally made into this property wasn't all in, it felt like, you know what I mean? It was, I mean, yeah, you got rid of Back to the Future and stuff, but instead of building a brand new ride, which I feel like they would do nowadays, it had to fit into this thing that was there. And it was using it as building a Krusty Land attraction within a theme park, I think is just, it was a genius. Like, I think that was a lot of fun. And I would love to see a fully realized Springfield, USA, I don't know.
Okay, let me pose this to you both. I'm going to get Hannah's take on it first, and then Rhino's, because I know he's going to be eager at this. Disney's Hollywood Studios, lack of cohesion, as people have said. We've said it ourselves here too. Double down on the park again. Leave Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway right where it is, because you're not going to get rid of it at this point.
Rid of the Mickey Mouse ride.
So we have Muppets. Expand upon the Muppets. You have Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Keep that. They have room to expand that as well. Expand that.
Get rid of
Pixar.
Star Wars and Indiana Jones.
Well, and I think you have that as a possibility. I don't think Disney's ever going to be bold enough to really do anything with Marvel beyond the little bit they've dipped their toes in now with like Guardians, unless they start turning around that studio and getting some hits again that doesn't have ties to Universal and those properties. Then I think we're going to be out of Marvel for quite a little bit here. So looking at the rest of the park, expand Pixar beyond just Toy Story and the little bit that they have there. And then, maybe where Indiana Jones is in that entire area, Echo Lake, make that Fox Animation courtyard area.
Yeah, for sure.
And then Pixar can take over where Launch Bay is, or if that turns into a DVC lounge or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? But there's real estate in that park. And then
a lot of
the only thing you have is Sunset Boulevard that is tying you back to the old park, which that obviously could change. I mean, we've seen them change up Tower of Terror once before. It's very possible they could do it again.
Well, and they've done a retheme of a theme park before too, because we've seen it at California Adventure. So
they have. So
and that's
going to Hannah first. Hannah, are you in on that concept?
I am absolutely in on that. I think that would make sense to me. And I like Sunset Boulevard. I love the theming of Hollywood Studios. It is an era that I wish I could have lived in. But I think, you can just isolate it to that L shape, and that's fine. I do think that even though the Fox animation, that would be very exciting. One issue that we're having right now is my husband and I love Hollywood Studios. There's not much for Owen to do there. Or that's not a show, at least. Really, you just have Mickey and Minnie's, and then you have the swirling aliens, swirling saucers, and that's it. So I would like to see more there, especially I think if you're not, let's say you're not a Star Wars fan, like I know families that Hollywood Studios is not a priority from them at all because they have young kids. They're not a Star Wars fan. And so then you're left with, do we go for the one roller coaster in Tower of Terror? So I think it does need, but I think, like you said, I think Pixar could accommodate that. So if you expanded the Pixar theme, I know we've wanted Cars Land for forever. I doubt we'll get it. That would make me so happy. Or even the old, I know there was a rumor about the Monsters Inc. roller coaster for forever ago. I would still be excited to see that. And how old is that rumor? It's like 10 years old at this point.
Maybe more.
So, I mean, there's,
Yeah.
probably, but there's a ton of space in that park. I also feel like I miss the events that they used to have at studios, like Star Wars weekends. I wish that, because these things are not going to happen overnight. So I wish that they would do, because Epcot has all these festivals, I wish they would have those at other parks. So we're not talking about an after hours, a ticketed event, something that is included with your ticket. Because as much as I'm hyped about these ideas, I'm also going to be the person who complains about the construction walls for 10 years. And as a travel agent, it's going to be really hard to sell people on coming to Walt Disney World until those things are built. I also feel like that park needs something right now for families, just something extra. Because they're as much as I love that park, I find myself going less and less because with a young kid, we do the same two things and then we sit at baseline, which I love. But, I mean, he's a kid. He wants to ride rides and play on playgrounds and things that studios doesn't have.
Yeah. And there's a very simple fix to this. And it's one that I didn't think about until we were in California with Rory and taking him around and discovering his love of carousels. And it's like, okay, Hollywood Studios has, they have alien swirling saucers, but why don't they have a carousel? Why don't they have a Dumbo style ride? Every park, in my opinion, should have at least those basic off the shelf rides that have the Disney touch to them.
Epcot has
but
nothing.
Epcot doesn't. I mean, we would have had a Mary Poppins one. That would have been great. That still could be great. But like, Epcot needs this. Hollywood Studios needs it. Animal Kingdom, maybe throw in a carousel, but we've got
the
dinosaur right
Triceratops
now.
spin, though.
Yeah, we've got that. So,
Right,
but for now, until Dino Land goes extinct for either Indiana Jones Encanto or question mark. But yeah, why they could easily fix that at Hollywood Studios, like very, very
Just
quickly.
Dump the Jessie carousel from California Adventure. Like they already have a Toy Story themed one. We'll make another one and dump it over here in Florida, okay? Put it on a truck and send it to Orlando. But I mean, yeah, no, those things would go a long way. And I know that, like, if you don't, I get it. Like, my son is 2. I came to Disney most of my life without little kids. That's not exciting. But a lot of people do have little kids, and this is not a big investment, and it doesn't take long to put up. So just, give us something in the meantime.
Yeah. I feel like easy wins there, but Rhino, I'll let you go now.
So we're talking about where the real estate, is, and I mean, I agree. I don't have kids, and I probably never will. But I get that need for that 100%, especially as somebody who used to work in that park. I felt that when parents would be like, "What do I do with this kid?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Take him on Honey, I Shrunk the Kid's playground. I'll probably split his head open. We'll have to call an alpha unit, but at least he'll have fun for a few minutes." So, like, I feel like if you were to level the whole animation courtyard, because it is useless. Literally right now, I don't care about that Little Mermaid show. Like, get rid of, what's the Star Wars area? Launch Bay. Get rid of that. We don't need it. Like, that, and then, where they probably won't because the Club 33 is up there, but get rid of the, and I guess that building is also connected to the Brown Derby. Anyway, I say there's some way to go from the behind, like where the Roundup barbecue is, you keep going back that way. So you can you can add that carousel like you talked about. Make the Rock and Roller Coaster the Incredicoaster. You just use the same video stuff that you have from California, plop it in there, add the, we know there's music. I'm sure that we can add the whole storyline into that, and then that can be part of that because they have that Cars experience that's over there. And like we said, like connect those stuff. And then you have your Pixar land and you can make that definitely way more kid friendly. And then you talked about living on the water at Magic Kingdom. Echo Lake is pointless. It is useless. I get that it's supposed to be kind of like the tar pits. It's you know what I mean? Like, I'm fine. Leave if you want to make Hollywood Boulevard, Sunset Boulevard, like Tower Terror and stuff, and you want to make that like Hollywood Land, and when you first come in, that's cool. I like that. And then do what you're talking about on the left there with all this like new animation stuff or whatever. The thing I feel like with Hollywood Studios, when we said earlier it's not cohesive, I don't have a problem with that because everything at Hollywood Studios more or less is built into like the media of it all. Like it is all movies and shows, and that is okay with me. Like I don't need a land. It doesn't bother me that that stuff. What bothers me a little bit, and this same at Disneyland, is that Star Tours is not connected anywhere to Star Wars. And I get it because at the same time, I'm also like, this is still a good Star Wars ride, but it's one of those where I was like, enough is enough. Like, I just either pull Star Wars Galaxy's Edge forward at Hollywood Studios, or maybe it's time to say goodbye to that ride. But for me, I think the thing with Hollywood Studios that's great, that is a really open opportunity, is the fact that there isn't that cohesion. So I don't know that we need all those lands and everything like that. Just plop stuff in there because it's just the park of adventure. It's just the park of movies and things, and that is the theme. And that can be that. It doesn't have to. Not everything has to be a land and stuff like that. But that park is so close, I feel like, because if Galaxy's Edge could just get itself together and have actual characters like they do at Disneyland, because watching Brooke and all the people that were interacting with like Chopper and Ahsoka and things like that there, and then having walked through the one here the other day, it just brings that land to life so much more than ours
Amen.
is doing. And I just think that's a problem that they just don't care about, or for some reason, because there's no return on investment or anything like that. But it's like if they could just get one more really solid area in there, that park would be golden. And that's my problem, is that Magic Kingdom objectively offers the most in terms of experiences and things to do. And people will always go to the Magic Kingdom. It is not the park that I think needs the attention right now. It is still Epcot. Get that business together over there. That park sucks. And and do Hollywood Studios.
I'm gonna say this though. I think Dino Land is the big one that needs to happen sooner than later.
I agree too.
And that's honestly fix Dino Land, and then I'm okay with Hollywood or with Animal Kingdom for a while, especially knowing that we're getting Zootopia inside the Tree of Life. I'm fine with that park for a while.
Yeah.
That figure out nighttime eventually.
And Avatar is still newish.
Yeah. Exactly. There's still, I think that park will be fine. Magic Kingdom, I think that just needs help from the fact that the more you can increase the attendance to that park, the better off the resort will be. Epcot, I'm going to give a hot take on this one, but outside of fixing Imagination, maybe finalizing plans for Mary Poppins to bring her back in the redo of like Spaceship Earth, maybe Mission Space, beyond those projects, I'm fine. Leave Epcot as the park. Leave it at that central park. So when people are sitting here saying, don't get rid of water features and leave that relaxing atmosphere, make that all that Epcot's about. Make that Epcot's badge of honor that they own.
To the
and
festival
everything else go crazy with utilizing all these spaces that I feel like are kind of a waste of space. And Echo Lake is a waste of space. Ryan, also, Echo Lake is a real lake in Hollywood. The La Brea tar pits are over by the Grove and
I just
the
thought
farmers
because the
market.
dinosaur was in the lake.
No,
That's why I was like,
you're right.
that's just Gertie being there. But Echo Lake is right below Dodger Stadium in that area of
Gotcha.
Echo Park. So, but your point still stands. Bulldoze the crap out of it and level that off. Say goodbye to Primetime, Hollywood and Vine. Say goodbye to Gertie. Move Gertie. Gertie can be placed anywhere.
Yeah, I'm not even, yeah.
Place Gertie somewhere else. And if you still have Sunset, then put Gertie over there. She'll make sense standing right where Beauty and the Beast live on stage used to be, because that also needs to go, because I don't want to watch oversized teacups dancing around any longer.
Get rid of that Frozen Ever After building. They don't know what to do with it. Like, that can go too. The American Idol building, whatever. Like, I get that we like, that I'm not knocking the fact that there's a show that kids can go watch. I'm not knocking that part. Is sing along and stuff. I'm not saying
I know.
That building was built to be, when it was remodeled, when I was there, it was remodeled. So they have all those rooms in the back, the audition rooms that are now where you like meet characters, which is fine. But like, move that stuff, pick it up, put it into Animation Courtyard. Okay. Where the animation should be, not Launch Bay. And you could put Frozen in there or something, like the area where the artists used to draw, all that stuff. There's all those rooms in there that are just wasted space.
Well, the tough part about that is original Galaxy's Edge plans, when it was just Star Wars in general, that was all supposed to be gone. That's where, they were going to have the cantina was going to be right on top of Mickey and Minnie's Vacation Fun or whatever it's called there, with Potato Land photo op at the end and Olaf meet and greet. And, all that shouldn't be there. It's still a relic of what survived. I'm happy about it. What's that?
I would say it's a Band-Aid. I mean,
it's a Band-Aid
I'm not hating on it, but I think it was just like we have the space. Let's quickly patch it. I don't even know if you have to remove all that, though. If you took away Indiana Jones and even, let's say, Star Tours or just Indiana Jones and Echo Lake, could you not do something there? Maybe not a whole land, but you could add an attraction for sure. Like, because that's the other thing is, like, kids. As a local, right? But I'm starting to get stressed. Is like, I like these ideas, but I also am thinking about, man, that is a park with not a lot, and then you start taking all that away, and it's like half the park is going to be walled off. Like, what are we going to do for the next 10 years?
You clearly didn't live here while they were building Galaxy's Edge.
I did part of it.
Well, it was wild when they like closed Streets of America. They closed the Backlot Tour, Lights, Motors, Action, Streets of America, and like all that stuff. And we're just like, this park costs the same amount of money to go to as the other parks. And you're like, really? And there was like no Fantasmic at that time either, I don't think. It was just one of those where it's like,
you're right.
It was wild, where I'd be like, how do you get off like charging people the same amount of money? But people paid it and people went.
Yeah, I have no attachments to the Frozen sing-along. I think it's an entertaining show. The only attachment I have to it is if Jollywood Nights comes back. I really enjoyed the Nightmare Before Christmas sing-along. As much as like sing-alongs in general, the 3 or 4 times I saw that show, not a single person was singing in there. So maybe they need to like revitalize the entire sing-along idea in general. People clearly want to see a show. They don't want to sing along with it. Save that at home for your VHS tapes and Disney sing-along songs. But I have no attachment to that. Get rid of that. Get rid of Vacation Fun. And at this point, I'm like, if anything, let's just regress with Hollywood Studios. Let's put
Sounds dangerous.
Let's put Well, even before that, it was the. Oh man, what was it called? It was like the creepy. It was like a haunted house movie or something.
I've never been there before that.
I forget what that one. And then where Frozen Sing-Along was the Superstar Television, of which I need to remind people that it's been years since I've reminded, but I was a part of Superstar Television. I played Thurston Howell III as part of Gilligan's Island. So at this point, I would rather them just like go back to that. It was a weird concept. It worked in what that park used to be. It wouldn't work now, but I don't know. Frozen
Is that
Sing-Along,
where you could ride the Bumblebee?
No, the Bumblebee was part of back in the backlots. So the backlot tour would end, and then you would have the buildings that you would walk
the
through
building
that
that they didn't
eventually
go through.
became,
that's right.
that eventually became Millionaire, and then Toy Story.
Well,
and now it's
there's another
Pirates.
there's another building that was still back there that was used for convention space. That was so like all the props and things like that were in this dark room that was like our bathroom was above it. And I used to be like, that room's haunted. Don't go in.
It was haunted.
It felt like it was. It was like dim lit. It was very like Night at the Museum. And I was like, I ain't messing around here. I don't want one of these things. I don't want that big hyena to wake up and bite me or something.
Yeah. Well, Alex here gave me the help. Monster Soundstage was what it was before Soundstage.
That's right.
So, been a long time. We know, of course, Rhino, you never experienced it because your mom would bring you down here and say, "Okay, one day at Magic Kingdom and one day at Universal Studios Florida, and that's all you get." And you shut up.
We rotated the two. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's you didn't have the blessings of Hollywood Studios back in the day when it was MGM and was quite fantastic. But
she heard it was terrible. She just wouldn't take us.
Your Sandy heard wrong, so she wasn't talking to the right people. The last thing I just want to throw out there, we're going like way over on this one. We now in hindsight, we spent too much time caring about Magic Kingdom when there was clearly bigger topics to approach.
That's the argument I'm making.
We might have to extend this argument to another time where the news completely sucks. But the last thing I'm going to ask. Are we okay with Disney Springs right now, and are we okay on the hotel front? The only thing I request from the hotel, can we slow down on DVC? And I'm sorry, DVC people.
Yes.
I know you love yourself a good DVC, and you want more DVC, and it's just you want it to gobble up the entire world of Disney World. But I don't know. I'm getting tired of it. Stop trying to sell me into timeshare from here, and just get back to making solid hotels. Last strong.
Yeah, or just give us both. I feel pretty strongly about this because I love Fort Wilderness. I am staying in a cabin in a couple of weeks because I wanted to stay in that very typical Fort Wilderness themed cabin one more time. By the way, the cabins are officially switching over on July 1st, and DVC members can start booking or buying points, I think as early as February 1st. And I think, so I will say I'm not a DVC member, but we have lots of friends and family that are, and they are currently struggling to get DVC reservations. So maybe it seems crazy to me because I do feel like there's too much DVC, but I guess the demand is there, whatever, they're selling it. I guess it's fine. Just don't give us something else, right? Like if you want to build DVC for every DVC, build us non-DVC. And I feel like especially with DVC resorts, they're all deluxe resorts with the exception for Fort Wilderness. And so for the family who is coming as a value or moderate resort guest, there is not a whole lot of new, there's not a whole lot of options. So I would love to see some new life run into the all-star resorts or even an additional resort more in that price point. Because everything right now is so deluxe resort, so DVC heavy. And while it's selling really well, I think we're also missing out on another group of people. Like that's great that there are people that can afford that and it's selling. But I also think why not expand it even more and allow for more families to be able to afford to come to Disney World? So I would love to see more of that. If you want to keep doing DVC, that's your prerogative. You just got to give us other stuff too.
Yeah, maybe I'll say it a little bit more clearly here rather than just completely crapping on it. But you shouldn't have to lock into a year, however many year commitment in order to be able to have more affordable vacations. I mean, start bringing the price of the hotel rooms regularly down and get them more in line rather than saying, you know what, you can have a really affordable vacation to Walt Disney World, stay in a deluxe style setting as long as you sign away 30 to 50 years of your life, and then you're great on that. Don't worry though, you can use it other places, and you can obviously, you can always rent out your points and you can sell it. It shouldn't go through that much. You shouldn't have to go through that much just to have an affordable vacation and get to stay in some really cool places. And I mean, we we can go blue in the head on this. That's not even a freaking phrase. I don't know why I'm
What?
saying it, but I know I don't know why I started saying it, but like literally we
Blue
can
in the
we
face.
can talk blue in the face. I don't know. We can talk nonstop about how it used to
the
be in
same.
the 90s and the 2000s. You know, I will always talk about it where it's like I remember coming with my sister without my parents for the first time and like, wow, it's a room at Pop Century, $79 a night. Like this is doable, and so much in the world has changed. And I feel like, you know, if I have to look at it, and I'm gonna start blaming like DVC partially on top of Disney and on top of all these other changes that have made Disney resorts even more unaffordable. And then, yeah, you look at it, it's like, okay, All Stars is the most affordable of what's out there. And, you know, I don't know if that's fair either, but that's a whole different topic. I feel like I'm taking it down a negative path, and I didn't want it to be that. I want to be hopeful right now for
That's what the
for
chat's
the
for.
future. What's that?
I said that's what the chat's for, the negative path. Sorry.
Bring us down to earth, right?
Wow.
I mean, to
All
dunk.
right.
I have my phone open, and I saw somebody make a crap comment, so I was like, right when you said that. But, you know, in terms of hotels, I would love to see the investment in like another value or a moderate resort that's like the theming
Yes.
that Disney used to be like an art of animation style theming, like, you know, heavily themed. But, you know, when I was thinking about it, I was like, I'd like to see them build another Star Wars hotel but I'd like to see them build the Star Wars hotel like one of the Pop Centuries or like Art of Animation, where, you know, like you can still keep that fun theming where like the pool is the waters of Naboo or something, you know, and then you can pull that stuff that worked from the other hotel, you know, like you can build in a restaurant there that can have a Gaia dinner show, you know, but then there's also quick service that, you know, and then it can have the bar. Just bring that bar over, and exclusive to guests, you could have lightsaber training and piloting, or, you know, whatever, in the simulators, and that's a perk of staying there. But make it moderate. I would assume that would be like moderate price, but like, so it's like it's still a hotel, but we're just having fun. You know what I mean? Like loosen that up a little bit.
Right.
And
It's
I'd
Disney.
like something like that, you know.
Mm-hmm. I'm good with Disney Springs though. I'm fine.
Yeah. You know
I'm
what?
happy.
I'm okay with Disney Springs too. Believe it or not.
Actually,
minus. Sorry.
I brought my friend there who she hadn't been to Walt Disney World since she was like 15, and so she was like, oh, so are we about to go to a theme park? And I was like, girl, no. And she was like, so what's here? And I was like, a lot of stores that are also at the outlets, but there's food. And I was like trying to explain it, and I was like, it's a lot of stuff where I was like, it's not really stores I would go to, but at the same time, like I do go to them. And so I was like, it's just a shopping district. And I was like,
Yeah.
it's trying to keep, you know, people and stuff there. I mean, she enjoyed herself and stuff, but it was funny. Like I love having that experience with people who haven't been, you know, to these things, and just being like, how do I explain what this is to a normal person who
Right.
doesn't? I don't want to be like, well, this is the old bottling factory over here, you know, like
Gosh.
so I was just like, it's a shopping district, you know, but no, I mean, I think the way Disney Springs is going with like, so I went back to the summer house on the lake there, and
Sorry.
and yeah, I still agree. I think
How
that
was
place is
it?
way too much money. It was better. I got those poke nachos that I had wanted. And the
Nice.
bread was warm this time. The bread was warm. They're
All right.
the puff things, but I still like the drinks for the price of the drink. I'm like, it's just not, I don't know. It's fine. It doesn't do it for me. Aesthetically I enjoy it, but that's what they wanted to eat, and so that's where we went and ate. And but it was just like, I was like, if I just keep doing this, keep giving us new options, like eat, you know, and the restaurant, not eat. I'm not saying eat, you know. Then
We
we can
get you.
eat at eat. Okay. So
Yes.
I feel like it's been moving in the right direction, right? Like it's still offering new things, and it's refreshing itself, and so I've been enjoying that.
Yeah, outside of World of Disney and the Lego store, I mean, I don't care about any of the shopping at Disney Springs, and I'm completely okay with it because I see people walking around with bags and bags and bags of Lego, mostly. I feel like that's what I see more than anything else. And then the random Coca-Cola ones thrown in there. We always do. But
true.
no, I see a lot of people carrying bags from the different stores all around. So they really does serve a purpose, even if it doesn't for me. But I'm okay with that because they offer enough of the counterbalance. They offer enough food, they offer enough snacks. I still love the fact that Salt and Straw has never picked up here. So basically anytime I walk into Disney Springs and I leave the movie theater, I stop and get my ice cream, and I usually walk straight up to the counter and get it immediately. I am happy with it. Well, I'm not going to walk across the street and get a $5 cookie that's just like deflated and sad.
I didn't get cookies.
$14. What was it? $14 pie, $15 pie.
I did almost get the lemon pie again, but
no.
But I did take her. I said, we're not getting cookies here, and I took her to the East End Market, Gideon's, and guess what I did? Walked right up to the register and ordered 4 cookies. And we sat outside and we ate a bunch of them, and I gave her the rest to go. But yeah. So I was just I was showing her that, and I'm like, they have one at Disney Springs, but you would have waited hours,
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and that's it. Like, I am so happy for Disney Springs being so busy, and you've got the drinks there, so there's definitely a reason to go, and the coffee cake cookie. But I'm like, if you're really talking about vacationing, and if you have the rental car, it's just worth it to go out there. If you have to Uber, that's when you really start to thinking about, okay, is the time I wait in line or to come back, is that worth what it would cost to drive all the way out there and get the cookies and come back? I mean, that's everyone's decision. Yeah. I'm weird about that. With time is money, I will often take what should be the faster one and then spend more time than if I would have just waited in line to begin with. But I'm also a glutton for punishment, so don't follow my advice here. What's that?
And ice cream.
Yeah, just get ice cream. Don't get Summer House cookies. If Gideon's is too long, don't get Gideon's. Just get that ice cream. Even when it's 50 degrees outside in Florida, just get that good Salt and Straw ice cream. You'll regret it because you're like, this was $8. How was this $8?
It's delicious.
I can't tell you. It's
Welcome
just delicious. Well, yeah, Hannah. I feel like that's a great place to end this, as we're bordering on
Welcome to Earth.
The bordering on the 90-minute mark. What movie is that from?
Independence Day.
Not aware
Disney
of that.
movie.
Yeah. I never heard of it.
The classic Disney film that they could lean into that if they want to now too.
Or Pretty Woman.
Or Pretty Woman. Imagine if they added those to the Hollywood Strip, the Hollywood Land area of Hollywood
The
Studios.
Hollywood Strip? Yep.
Yeah, I know what I said.
Yeah. That's what Disney's Hollywood Studios is missing. They're missing Ladies of the Night, just stretching up and down Sunset Boulevard. Well,
handkerchiefs going.
I'm deeply uncomfortable. That'll be another argument. We went over Fox Animation. Now we've got to really start mining those other Fox properties because they're out there. I know Rhino's still pushing for that Greatest Showman attraction, the Sound of Music attraction. There's a lot that he wants. And as far as I know, that's the only 2 movies that Fox ever made prior to Disney buying them. I don't think there's been any more. I could be wrong about that. Oh, Alien. Sorry, forgot about it. Yep. I want to give Alien credit too, but not Aliens. So I think that was.
I do want to give a shout out though. This conversation where it leaned into is that I filmed a Baseline Tap House yesterday about Disney Hills that you would die on, and or Tap House Talks, excuse me, and
the Sound of Music Hill.
And the Sound of Music was one thing that got brought up, and but it was about things. Part of the conversation gets into if the Great Movie Ride had not been demolished, like how could it have been updated, and so some of those things you just said were part of the conversation. So just keep an eye out for that. I don't know when that's coming out. Next week probably, but just stay tuned.
Here's the thing. I'm the puppet master, so I'll figure out
Well, I
when,
have a
when we
shopping
place
video
it.
still.
So,
That's right.
yeah, you have the shopping video, and we
And the
have
dining video.
DCL shows if Jackie recovers, and our
Oh,
dining
Jackie,
review. We've got
get
we got a
better
lot. Yeah, we got a lot to cover. So I also want to take this as we're wrapping up here as a chance to say, if you enjoyed kind of how open this conversation was, go back into the archives and watch Off the Rails, because that's basically what that show was. But in all seriousness, we're going to try to have more conversations that feel like this on our Patreon post show that we do. Again, patreon.com/DizUnlimited. So you get it kind of has a little bit of this feeling with a little bit more movies, TV being thrown in. Jackie both complaining about Seattle in the summertime, but then praising it complaining about Seattle in the wintertime, loving it in the summertime. And you're just like, well, if you hate it so much, why did you move away? But that's, again, we hide that kind of stuff behind a paywall. So just so you know what you're getting, you're welcome. What's that, Rhino? You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. But no, if you want to support us on Patreon, patreon.com/DizUnlimited. If you want to help us even more and give us support, book a vacation through Dreams Unlimited Travel. Don't buy that DVC. Book that vacation through Dreams Unlimited Travel using an amazing travel agent like Hannah that I'm sure we'll get
Like
comments
me.
today. Let Hannah talk. We wanted to hear what she said. Instead, those two guys just nonstop cut her off.
No, it's okay. Y'all gave me a break today. I'm not mad about it. Just over here, mind my own business.
Okay,
With her
drink it from your
Stanley cup.
Stanley. Yeah.
I'm basic.
Humble brag.
My
Daisy-
Daisy
I was
sweatshirt. My
gonna say Daisy and a
It's a-
Stanley. Oh my goodness.
it's a lifestyle.
It's a white woman's Instagram over here.
Well, I mean, listen.
That was the Bo Burnham song. Sorry.
Yeah, I caught that.
Okay.
We will have to run a poll later. Who is more basic, Hannah and her Daisy/Stanley, or was Erica more basic with her Taylor Swift cardigans? And
I don't like Taylor Swift, so that gives me one bit of street cred.
She's
Oh
got
no,
edge.
it doesn't. Everybody's gonna be mad at me.
Hannah.
Yeah.
I think we
Way to
just
close
became
out this
best
show.
friends. We just
Right.
became best friends with that. So.
We need to end the show. We need to end it.
Yeah, you're going to start losing clients. I love it. And I love the
Oh.
Chiefs. Okay, so if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, leave comments, questions, video suggestions in the comments section. And if you are listening to this, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us ratings and reviews so more people are able to find this show. But that's going to do it for us today. First off, thank you so much to everyone who took the time to tune in, whether you are watching or listening. I really, really do appreciate it. We appreciate having you here and hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as we enjoyed having it. Rhino and Hannah, thank you very much for participating today and having this very long and very open-ended discussion with me. And I can't wait to do it again real soon. But that's it for this week's episode of the Diz Unlimited podcast. Again, I really hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again real soon with another show. But for now, we've reached the end, or should I say the beginning of your future. Goodbye.